Hello, Gary Simon here of DesignCourse.com, and welcome to the 25th DesignCourse.com Design Challenge Review. And we had some real good entries. One was from a popular YouTube designer, so check that out for sure. And also, we're going to pick the winner of the giveaway that I announced for the Visual Identity Design course. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this is the random name picker and the list of names of those who've submitted entries, with exception to one individual right here. Unfortunately, I gotta code some better forms here. These are custom, I coded them. So what probably happened is this person, whoever submitted this, they were logged in for a while and then hit submit and posted it, and the session was lost. And so it didn't store their username information. So I have no clue who posted this. I'll try to find a way to make that up to you, but if you're watching this, whoever submitted this, let me know in the YouTube comments, and I'll get a hold of you. So anyhow, aside from that, these are the names. So all I'm going to do is hit pick a random name, and you will have won the Visual Identity Design course. All right, so the Defiant Space. Let's do a search and find out which one he did. All right, right here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do the review though. Go ahead and get a hold of me, by the way, just to remind me to give you access to that. And you'll have it in your account. You just click on My Video Courses and it should show up. Right, so real quickly, I do want to mention just today, I launched the one-on-one design training. So if you go there, you'll see, and by the way, I'm going to release a video on the YouTube channel about this. There's a cool promo video I made with it right here. And you could check out, what exactly this is. Basically, it's hourly design training with me in a one-on-one environment. And here's currently the pricing that I have going on with it for 1-hour sessions. All right, so check that out. All right, let's get back to the reviews, and I'll stop spamming you. Where the hell am I? All right, there we go. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so Whiteout, just a pretty quick entry, he says. The one issue with this is it was hard for me to read. Now, of course, we know it says design course, but will another person who's just looking at this top portion right here know that right off the bat? And I say that because you have the DES, and that's pretty visible. But then we get to this area right here. Now, we see the dot for the I, but I don't necessarily see an I itself in here. It looks almost like it could be an O. And then additionally, we have this coming up right here. Now this, in and of itself, this shape right here looks exactly like this E. Now I understand connected, it's an actual G coming down, but that's one issue where you can kind of see a very strong similarity between those two characters. So that's an issue you would probably want to address just by adjusting how this G looks. Maybe just end it right here, the connecting point, and not have this go straight through, and then it becomes a little bit more legible. As far as the legibility for the course, you can definitely read all these letters, although this kind of makes it a little bit difficult, a little bit cluttered, if you will, when it comes to this bottom G just going straight through the E. So that's kind of a big no, I would say. And then I would say the last concern I have is probably for just the overall flow of the types in relation to each other as a whole, when it comes to how you combine the design and then the course with each other. They just kind of seem separated, and there's not a good flow. So a good example, of course, would be this right here. Everything right here seems to just flow together real well. It feels like there's a lot of consistency, and it's kind of its own one single mark. All right, so thanks for that. I think just a few of those adjustments, and you'll be able to step it up a pretty good size notch in terms of quality. All right, so Bradbury Design. This is one of the best entries that we received. And I just paused because I know this individual has a pretty popular YouTube channel, another designer with 26,000 subscribers, so a pretty decent sized channel. Check out his channel. Thanks for submitting. I can't really say anything too bad about this. So there's a lot of consistency in the type. If you notice, when it comes to hand lettering, all the tiny details in the individual letters themselves is really important. So we can notice at the beginning of each letter, we have this thickness here applied to the left portion, and then we have the connecting elements a little bit thinner. And we can see that throughout every single connecting point and through every portion of the letter themselves. And that consistency is what really makes it successful and very good. All right, so thanks for that. This is one that I would say some of the other designers should definitely learn from. All right, so Mario. Okay, so the issue we have, sorry, my mouse scroll wheel is really shaky. All right, so, out of my element, this is my attempt. Trust me, when I'm not great at hand lettering, trust me. It's very difficult when you're first trying to learn how to do it. So I think a lot of people felt that same sort of thing because I've never done any tutorials on it. I don't have a ton of experience. It is tough. So there's just an issue of consistency here throughout these letters. And it's so minor, but I'm saying the fix is minor, but the difference is huge in what it could transform and make this into. So what I'm talking about here is just take a look at like all the lowercase letters here, with the exception of the D. This top portion of the E, all right, the S is going slightly higher. The bottom of the E, where it begins the baseline, this S is going slightly lower. We could see right here at the I, just before the dot, it's even less vertically high than the S and the E. And then we come down here to C is real low there. And then you basically have all these very subtle differences in terms of alignment and height that throw everything off essentially. If you can master getting everything evened up, you can end up with a result that's kind of more like this, and also the inspiration up here. And so it's just those details, again, that you got to really focus on. So I don't expect people just, to submit awesome entries, right off the bat here. Obviously, Bradbury, has had experience, in doing this. So just keep at it, and thanks for the submission. Okay. All right, this time was extremely difficult. Calligraphy is not an area of design. At least I tried. Thanks for the submission for sure. We do have some issues of consistency. I can kind of see in the area of spacing, the space between the actual characters. The D and E seem kind of far. The E and the S seem kind of far. Then we have the I and the G. The I and the S, rather, are pretty close. And then we have the G and the N are close. And so overall, if you just fixed those minor issues and kind of got everything to be more evenly distributed, I kind of like the look where there's less space in between all of the individual characters, as opposed to being more like this. I think it would be a lot better. In terms of your execution of designing each of the letters and your consistency in presenting them, like these two S's almost look identical. That's very good. Same with the E's. So you did that part well. I would just say trying to get the letter spacing a little bit more consistent would be best. All right, how do I change my nickname? You'll have to hit me up on YouTube, remind me after this, and I can probably do that for you. All right, so Scolly. Okay, I did 3 types for you to look at. Now the problem with this is this wasn't hand lettered. Now these were fonts, of course, that somebody hand lettered, unless of course you created these fonts yourself, which I don't think you did, because I do recall seeing this font. This is kind of like a popular free font down here. Yeah, that wasn't the purpose of this this contest, unfortunately. So you can see like the S right here and the S, these are exactly identical. It kind of just tells me that this individual perhaps used fonts when it was supposed to be about hand lettering. So you may have been confused about that, and that's fine. But unfortunately, I kind of defeated the purpose of the contest, but no problem. All right, so Bubeck, let's see. I don't know why that did that for some reason. This is the one we already looked at, my damn form coding skills. All right, and then another one from Bubeck. Unfortunately, there's just too much inconsistency going on here, and it kind of looks like it was just really quickly drawn out. So I would say not anything kind of like what we're looking for in terms of having a really refined sort of like a logo sort of word mark, essentially. All right, but thanks for the entry. And the Defiant Space, the winner. Okay, so this is obviously a different sort of take on the approach here to getting our word mark on here. I would say there's several issues here, of course, when it comes to the spacing. And I would also say there's probably too much trying to be achieved here by connecting all, like, a lot of the various letters together, like the S. It's very creative, but it's kind of still hard to follow. I would say mainly probably because of the alignment, because we have this D up here, a lot of space in the E, a lot of space between and or before and after the E, a lot of space right here, and then things kind of get a little bit jungled up over here between the S, I, and G, N. And so you have the DE kind of sign right here. Then you have a lot of space over here, and then it kind of gets a little bit closer together. Then you have a little bit more space. So just between all these elements here, it's kind of just feels separated. It doesn't really feel unified or uniform or consistent. So I think if you just worked on bringing everything together in terms of consistency, it would definitely be a lot better in my opinion. So thanks for submitting that. Okay, so this one, Paintwithgreen. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, is this another font that somebody used? So let me see here. I got up before I started recording. Oops, I didn't scale it correctly. I'm going to scale this down to the size of my recording area. And I was just curious, because I didn't want to make an assumption that this was, not hand done. Because if you look at the two E's, the patterns in the middle are definitely, or, in the texture rather, are definitely different in these two E's. But I thought to myself, the forms themselves look definitely very, similar, as if this isn't a font. This is a font with a kind of like a custom texture overlaid on top of like a layer mask or something. So I cut the E out and I overlaid it on here, and it's like an exact match. Same thing with the S, and that's an exact match. So again, Paintwithgreen, if you were under the impression that, you just kind of wanted to, you were able to use a font, that's not what we were trying to do. We wanted to literally draw it out. Okay. Now, if you created a font out of this and you just reuse the same letters, then cool, that's awesome. I mean, I like this, and if this was hand done, that would be superb. It would be a superb submission. But correct me if I'm wrong now. All right, so column 101. Okay, so not my strongest design skill. I think it's probably one of the things that's hardest for most graphic designers, I would say, is this hand lettering stuff. So again, we have issues here kind of with alignment. So we have the baseline right here. You can see it's kind of roughly drawn out, it looks like, in this area. And then the letters start to fall off, unfortunately. Like you were doing good here, and it's like, oh crap, things are kind of falling off. And then try to correct it up here, but then the R and then S and E. So if you were to draw parallel lines from here, like right here, the baseline of the E to this E, it would probably be something like down here. So you've got to definitely try to keep everything consistent in terms of following the same path, whether that be an arc or, just a straight line. After that, there are some issues additionally in terms of the letter spacing. It's real close here between the N and the C, but then we have the O and the U, which is spaced out further. And then also, I would say direction. We have the U straight up, and then we have the R kind of just slanting this way, and then U's up like this way. And so these are all things that, if you're able to correct and keep consistent, it really boosts the quality just automatically. All right, thanks for the submission, though. And we have another one here from Robin. I can't say another one. I'm not sure if this individual already did another one. But anyhow, giving it a try. So let's see here. Okay, so looking at this, it's not bad. It's definitely better than some of the other submissions, but it's not great either. Because there's not something, it doesn't really stick out and say, there's something really spectacular about it. I could definitely see that this is, it is hand drawn. We can see the E right here. Compare it with this E right here. They're definitely different. Although if you look at them, you could see the alignment from the stem of the E versus this stem of the E is completely different. I can't say completely, but very noticeably different. This one's kind of trailing this way, and this one's kind of trailing straight up and down on a 90-degree angle. And again, same thing with the end. It's kind of just, it's off on an angle a little bit. And all these subtleties will just kind of throw off the appearance of it, even to the untrained eye. So because everybody's so used to looking at consistent type, essentially, with all the fonts are out there. So it's one of those things that we really need to practice on. If you want to get good, of course, at hand lettering, you need to really practice on consistency. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this challenge. All right, so thanks for that submission. I think it's just a few things with some of these submissions, especially with this one, that if they were changed and everything were applied consistently, they would be like 200% better. So thanks for that. And then we have salary here, and this is a very good design. And I think it becomes even more pronounced because this is, obviously a paper version when you see it with the vectorized version. So everything here seems real consistent. Maybe the only thing that's kind of slightly off is just this R. You can see kind of the R is just kind of coming down a little bit lower than the other ones, and it's a little bit kind of not on the same angle when these two clash there. But you know what? Very minor gripe. So this is definitely within the top two. And here's kind of like a texturized version. So I really like this. Very good submission. Thanks for that. All right, so this is the individual that we don't have the username, unfortunately. Looking at this, let me scale down my browser just so I can see a little bit better. Where am I at? All right, so looking at this, it doesn't feel consistent. It doesn't feel connected, the words either. I think there's a little bit too much spacing in between the letters. And there's also too much spacing between course here. And there wasn't really much of a tie-in between design and course. And so that's one issue that I would say that's the biggest issue that's holding it back, in my opinion. So again, try to work with the spacing, bringing everything a little bit together, finding a unique way to tie the two words together, and you'll have a solid concept. All right, so let's look here. Let me get the reset to default. And all right, the thing was a bitch to vector in Illustrator. You gotta like the original I did on paper. Okay, so yeah, I think this is the one that we looked at up here previously. Let me make sure. Yeah, so that's the same one that we looked at already. So I'm not gonna analyze it again, just for the purpose of saving time here. But yeah, thanks for the entry again. All right, so Roger here. Looking at this, so this is obviously a very straightforward, not one that's not meant to be like some extravagant logo or whatever. So just examining what's done here with the type and looking at these. Let's see here. I'm just kind of looking real quickly at the E's, for example. The two E's seem to match up pretty close. The S's as well. So at least everything here is pretty consistent. It seems like if we look at the words themselves individually, it was executed pretty well. So I really don't have too much bad to say about this. This is a pretty good attempt. Of course, if we're trying to make it into like a logo or something, we probably want to bring the course much closer over here and maybe do something a little bit more unique. But as it stands, as type itself, it's good. So thanks for that entry. All right, so Dara. All right. Let's see here. Okay, I was just reading that real quick. All right, this kind of reminds me of the Coca-Cola logo. Just that C and that classic kind of arc right here. Looking at this, there still are some of the issues that I've been talking about. Some of the other entries we have the letter spacing with the E and the S. And the I, pretty consistent right here, but then we get to the G and the N, and there's pretty much nothing. So, it's just one of the things most people or most designers new to hand lettering aren't aware of when they do it. And then that's kind of what ends up taking away the potential for it to be great, essentially. And so looking at this over here, we have the same issue. We have the letter spacing between the O and U's real close, and then the U and the R is kind of further out. And so that's one of the things. Also, like this S kind of seems to be leaning a little bit to the left compared to this E, which is leaning forward. So these are just tiny nuances that will just throw off the visibility and the readability of the type and the flow of the concept itself. So again, focus on keeping everything consistent and you'll definitely improve. All right, so coming down here, Here's another one. Now this is just based on using grid paper. So it kind of takes the element of, oops, 1 second. The element of creativity out of it a little bit. You know, obviously you need to construct it. But, you know, a great way to experiment with hand lettering is through the grid paper because it can help you keep your letter spacing and all of that consistent. But looking at this as it stands, let me go down a little bit further. Yeah, it's actually a pretty cool concept. Obviously, because you're using grid paper, everything is by default kind of even. And so for what it is, it's definitely a good entry. So thanks for that. And George X. And we have another submission where I would say, you know, there's a lot of inconsistencies in terms of how the type is presented. So we have we have the N, C, O, U all touching each other. Then we have the R kind of separated, the S kind of separated, and the E as well. And then the G and the N, there's a pretty sizable space in between there. So it kind of throws off the flow of the type. And we have the same issue. We have issues as well in terms of alignment. We can see that there is, you know, two vertical or horizontal lines rather that were drawn here, but they some of the letters extend pretty well beyond above or below the lines, and that also is something that's going to throw off the flow of the design as well. Now, of course, when you have like a G, that can definitely, you know, the tail can definitely come out of that area, but everything else you got to try to keep, for the most part, consistent. All right, thanks for the submission, though. All right, so here it was made by hand with a 6mm Pilot parallel pen, which I decided to buy after last challenge. Okay. All right, so this is actually a pretty good entry. Everything, as we can see, one of the things that can really help give consistency is, you know, the variations with the thickness, which obviously a calligraphy brush or a pen would definitely allow you to do in between the letters themselves. In terms of alignment, everything seems to be angled in the same direction, which is very important. The letter spacing seems to be pretty accurate overall. And then tying everything together with these interesting loops and such, it's a good entry. So I can't really say anything too negative about this. Very good. And then finally, I believe this is our last, second to last right here. Okay, so you're only 15. Oh man, that's no excuse. Anyhow, looking at this, I like the course kind of a lot better than I do design. I think too much was trying to be completed up here, just with the S and the I and then the G and the N and this coming off. The course seemed to be, you know, the lowercase letters are all, with exception to this R and this S right here, are a little bit more simplified. I think if you simplified the E-S-I-G-N, kind of like you have the O-U and R, or the O-U and E at least, this would have been a lot better. So I think there's a lot of potential here, but I think there's just too much happening up here. You got the E started over here, then the S is up here, I's right here, G's kind of down a little bit, and then also there's a lot happening down here as well. So I think just trying to simplify this a little bit better, more in line with what's going on here, would be more ideal. But yeah, it's a good entry. All right, so George X, another one. Again, we have some of the issues. Oh, this one was just vectorized, I think, from the other one, so I won't bother reviewing that. All right, so thanks for the submissions, everyone. Look out for a new challenge, which is going to be posted tomorrow. I'm not even sure what that is. I have to think of that here in the next 30 minutes, I think. But yeah, check out the YouTube channel for that. Check out the one-on-one design training, which I just released today. Check out the video courses as well. Oops, I got to log out. Let me log out here. And I got errors showing up all over the place. And yeah, check those out. And again, this is something I launched just 1 week ago. There's a responsive web design course, which is brand new. and then also the Visual Identity Design course, which is formerly a part of Design Course Premium. So yeah, check that out. Subscribe here on YouTube, and I'll see you with a new video tomorrow. Goodbye.